next startup, and the final startup for this competition, is Clio Muse, a storytelling tool with metrics capabilities for cultural institutions to entertain and educate their visitors through gamification, rating, and social sharing features during their guided tours. Please give them a round of applause. Come on, it's not... All right. Great, your time begins right now.
Okay, hello, I'm Yanis, and when I go to museums, I see something like this. Great masterpieces, but with some ugly descriptions like these. So how am I supposed to know what was happening in Athens in 1674, or who on earth is Jacques Carré? And it turns out I'm not alone. 9 out of 10 people want more explanations, and 3 out of 5 find these descriptions difficult and vague. So me as a visitor cannot link the historical information, and I get tired. And museums, they cannot self-evaluate, and they cannot be social. So we have come up with a platform connecting museums with and exhibitors in general with their visitors. It shares unique stories structured in 4 categories, and visitors can vote with these stories, play, and share. Here you see the features of the application and platform, but I'd like to emphasize what's in it for museums. So museums can interact with their visitors, learn their opinions, and design their exhibitions accordingly, thus maximizing their popularity and their appeal to their stakeholders. Plus, they can share new stories for the same items multiple times, re-inviting their visitors and engaging with them again and again. So now let's talk business. Customers are exhibitors and their visitors around the globe. We're starting Nice in Greece, and then we go Europe, Asia, and the United States, which are the fastest growing cultural markets. But who pays for that? Obviously not the visitors. It's free to them. And museums don't really have that kind of money. So we go straight to their sponsors. Foundations supporting cultural activities, institutions, and museum friends associations. The pricing policy is there, and according to Daphne's calculations, we will break even in the 2nd year with just 6 small to medium museums. Now, we're not dreamers. The competition is huge. But we create communities, and the competition doesn't. We don't share Wikipedia information. We dig in ourselves in the exhibitors' databases, and we share unique stories. We give them the tool to increase their visits and popularity. Our team is Daphne, a business graduate, Andreas, a conservator of art, and me, an electrical engineer, with these roles inside the team. We've done a great job over this year, mock-ups, validations, pivots. We have invested our own money, and we need 26,000 more to go on. And your guidance. Thank you.
Great. Great. Questions and answers, please.
Have you already did a trial with a museum?
I didn't hear that, sorry.
So have you already did a trial with a museum just to see the results?
Yes, actually we're very lucky. We've been cooperating with the Athens City Museum, whose headmistress, Mrs. Archodidou, and the Chief Technology Officer is here with us. They have been mentoring us from the very beginning, because we found our first customer in October when we just went to ask them what's the problem. And they've been with us all along. So yes, we have a customer. We're going live this February in them, and we have already tested the platform with some visitors.
So this sounds like a really interesting tool. If I understand what you're saying, that you're creating sort of a digital, you're productizing or digitizing museum displays.
Yeah.
So my question is, could schools be a third-party customer? Could you develop product to make it easy for teachers to access museum content as a teaching tool?
You know, when you start a business, you try to concentrate on a target market, okay? So schools, the next branch is the Clio Muse Kids. But now we're starting with adults because they're visiting museums and they get boring. And it's up to them if they visit or not. Schools will go to museums either way because their teachers want to. But adults won't unless they think it's interesting, unless they think it's worth doing it. So we decided to approach them at first, and Clio Muse kids later. It's the first time we say that publicly.
Okay.
I have a question that rises from a problem.
Yes.
People go to museums to educate themselves primarily, and they look at exhibits. You're forcing them to look at screens.
No.
Help me.
Great. Now the answer to that is that we have studied competition and we have done many, many surveys and questionnaires to visitors, and they say exactly this: I don't want to end up looking at the screen. So I wasn't very clear, but when I said that we share unique stories separated in 4 categories with certain time duration. So we won't predict what the user wants to see and end up giving him a bunch of irrelevant information. We make little stories based on true historical information, and there is a certain time duration written next to the title. So the visitor clicks on the title he wants to read, the most intriguing title according to his opinion, and he reads what he wants, and he knows how much it will take. I didn't answer your question?
You're very clear. I'm just very against your whole business plan and proposal and everything, but for my own reasons.
If I may add, at first, and we haven't settled that yet, we believe that we shouldn't put even images inside the screen. Just let little stories. It's 1 or 2 minute stories. But then we thought that people with disabilities would like to see these stories, and we added the screen. So our main purpose is not to let them focus on the screen, but on the object.
I think what you're doing is great. I'm just keep my comment for the end.
Okay.
Right.
Have you thought about accessibility issues? I mean, have you thought maybe you should expand this to be, read text instead of just image?
Yes, they can read this information or listen to them.
I have two questions. One is that an experience only within the walls of a museum, or something that I can have an experience with exhibits outside of the museum?
I didn't hear the first part of your question.
I have to repeat it?
Yes, sorry.
So, this application will work when I am in the museum and only in the museum, or can offer an experience outside of the museum? This is the first question.
Okay, so at first, this Christmas it's going out as a web application, okay? Made it a hybrid application for all mobile platforms, but you can see it on your browser, in your tablet or computer or everywhere.
And the second question, perhaps it's not my terrain, but I have to ask it, regarding your revenue stream. It seems that you have made this hypothesis that nobody would like to pay for it unless you ask the museums to look for more fundraising in order to have this application. Something that makes an extra effort for them in order to adopt them. So if they have to look for fundraising, for sponsorships, that makes it hard to adapt it very quickly. Or I have misunderstood it, perhaps.
Okay, so your time is up. You can answer this question.
Okay.
So now it's time for you to give them advices, please. 2 minutes.
Two ideas. One is exactly on that point. I would go and have a trial with a museum, quantify the results, compare the increase of attendance compared to last year, and then based on that, ask for some money. The second, you're devoting your time, your energy. Your money is not such a big thing. So in the presentation, when you said that you contributed 700 euros, I would have omitted that because it doesn't show commitment, even though you have committed a lot.
Thank you.
I think socially, educationally, and as a contribution to the evolution of our societies that is really going down the drain, your application, in my opinion, could be totally wrong, should be focused before the visit and after the visit and ignore the during the visit. Because art should be appreciated for its qualities, inherent quality, not just art. I'm not being superficial by saying art Picasso, je sais pas quoi. Sorry. It's just that going to see the Parthenon, you should see the bloody Parthenon, not anything else. Educate yourself before, and when you go home, build your stories, communicate, go back, make yourself forced to go back. Help us with your application to go back, to take another 3 people to go along with. But the art piece, the element, the real artifact should be appreciated for what it is. You can multiply your thing by doing it before and after. Sorry.
Thank you.
So what I really like about what you guys are doing is the fact that you've got an established museum as sort of a charter partner customer. Because the chances are your original idea is probably flawed. But the fact that you have an established entity that's committed to working with you to help you figure it out, that's the way to go. Bravo.
Thank you.
Great. We have only 5 seconds, please, if you have one advice.
Well done. And think of those 2 things, you have to go a little bit forward, but well done, very good presentation.
Okay, great. Thank you, guys. Thank you very much. Thank you.